Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In this lesson, we will be talking about one of the most difficult topics of MBBS, which are the derivatives of pharyngeal arches. And it's very difficult to remember these derivatives, especially for exam purposes. And for that, I have read this simple mnemonic, which is maximum smiling problems are vague. And you can remember it in a sense, if a beautiful lady just smiles at you, then you can't, mm, then you don't know that what was the purpose of this smile. The most of the smiles are vague and you can't get a clear cut purpose from that. So for that, you just remember this mnemonic: maximum smiling problems are vague. And you should remember it this way, that maximum stands for first pharyngeal arch, smiling stands for second pharyngeal arch, problem stands for third pharyngeal arch, and wake stands for 4 and 6 pharyngeal arches. So to know about the derivatives of first pharyngeal arches, you have to remember the word maximum. And maximum sounds like maxillary. So the maxillary division of trigeminal nerve and the mandibular division of trigeminal nerves are the derivatives of first pharyngeal arches. And you know that the maxillary nerve and the mandibular nerve supplies the muscles of mastication. So the second derivatives are the muscles of mastication, which include the masseter and the lateral pterygoid and medial pterygoid, and those muscles. They are the derivatives of first pharyngeal arch. You should also know that the mylohyoid muscles, mylohyoid, which divide that submandibular gland, is also derivative of first pharyngeal arch. And you should remember it this way, that the mylohyoid divides the submandibular gland, which sounds like the maximum, and the mylohyoid also starts from M, so it is the derivative of first pharyngeal arch. And you should also know that the maxilla, these are the bone, the maxilla, the mandibular process, and first two bones of the middle ear, which are malleus and incus. These are also the derivatives of first pharyngeal arch. So just to remember, you should know maximum. Maximum stands for maxillary and mandibular division of the trigeminal nerve, which supply the maxilla, and the muscles of mastication, which include the masseters and the lateral and medial pterygoids. And you should also know that the mylohyoid muscle and the first two bones of the middle ear, which are malleus and incus, are supplied are derivatives of the first pharyngeal arch. Now, to know about the second pharyngeal arch derivatives, you should know about smiling. Well, smiling is associated with muscles of facial expression, and the muscles of facial expression are the muscles of facial expression include the buccinator muscles and the levator, the muscles of the lips and the muscles of the forehead and the muscles which closes the eye. These are all the muscles of facial expression, and they help in smiling. So these are supplied by the these are the derivatives of the second pharyngeal arch, and we know that the muscles of facial expression mm, are supplied by the facial nerve. So you should remember the facial nerve, which is the seventh cranial nerve, is also the derivative of second pharyngeal arch. And you should also know that stapedius muscle, and stapes bone. These also start from S. So these are the derivatives of the second pharyngeal arch. The stylohyoid muscle and the hyoid bone, some part of the hyoid bone is also derivative of the second pharyngeal arch. To know about the third pharyngeal arch, you should remember the word problem. The problem start from P, and so most of the derivatives of the third pharyngeal arch start from P. So it include the, you should remember the stylopharyngeus. The stylopharyngeus muscle is the derivative of the third pharyngeal arch, and we know that stylopharyngeus is supplied by glossopharyngeal nerve. Glossopharyngeal. Pharyngeal. The pharyngeal also sounds like problem. So stylopharyngeus muscle, glossopharyngeal nerve, these are the derivatives of the third pharyngeal arch. And you know, there are two major vessels in our neck. If we cut those vessels, it will create a big problem and the patient can't survive. These are the internal carotid artery and the common carotid artery. So I have remembered it this way, that the internal carotid artery and the common carotid artery, if I cut it down, it will create a big problem. So that's why these are the derivative of third pharyngeal arch. Now to remember about the fourth pharyngeal arch, you should know that the fourth and sixth pharyngeal arch, you should remember vague. Vague sounds like Vegas. All the derivatives of fourth and sixth pharyngeal arches are supplied by the vagus nerve. But you should remember to be specific that the superior division of the vagus nerve, which is superior laryngeal branch. Superior laryngeal branch. This is the fourth arch derivative, and to remember that what are the components of the fourth pharyngeal arch, you should know about this mnemonics CAR. Superior, S stand for the superior laryngeal nerve, C stand for cricothyroid. So the superior laryngeal nerve supplies the cricothyroid muscle, and all others, S stand for all others, are supplied by the recurrent laryngeal nerve. So the fourth pharyngeal arch derivatives include the superior laryngeal nerve, which supply the cricothyroid, and the sixth pharyngeal arch derivative include the recurrent laryngeal nerve branch, which supplies all other muscle. And just in a nutshell, you don't need to distinguish, but you should just remember that all the muscles of larynx and all the muscles which help in voice production are supplied by the fourth and sixth pharyngeal arch. Fourth and sixth pharyngeal arches, and everything related to thyroid is are the derivatives of fourth and sixth pharyngeal arch, and everything about the cartilages of the larynx, which include the cricoid, the arytenoid, and the cricoarytenoid, and the cuneiforms. All these cartilages are the derivatives of fourth and sixth pharyngeal arches. So this was a brief review about the derivatives of fourth and sixth pharyngeal arch.